Testing. 1, 2, 3. Testing 1, 2, 3. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. St. Patrick's Day. Wishes upon every single one of you, whether you are Irish or not. We all celebrate it as one big world. Good morning to a lot of people who have joined us early in chat. BB is here, Ida is here, KB is here, Hidden Agendas is here. And a lot of you are over on Binance Square right now. Too many names to read out. Stun is here, new to trading. We have Ida. We also have Bitcoin buyer. Gabriel is here. Blackpink is here. Blackpink. So there's a few of you in chat, which is nice to see, because sometimes, and I'm going to say this quietly, sometimes during a bear market, it can get very lonely on these streams. The sentiment goes, the viewers go, and I have to rely on talking to the same 2 or 3 people, which I don't mind, but I don't want to pressure you into answering the same questions every day. So we do have a new question of the day. We did one yesterday for the first time. We've got a second one today. Yesterday's didn't really get many answers on that one. We're going to try another one today. Which one of these comes first? A $100 Solana or a $2 XRP? Let me know in chat which one of those you think are going to come first. That's the question. That's going to be running throughout the rest of the stream. Good morning to you, Danny, and good morning to you, Mags. I hope you're both doing incredibly well. Now, yesterday's stream felt like an onslaught. I literally piled everything into an hour and 10 minutes. So I've tried to cut back a little bit. There's no serious numbers of charts today, but we are going to go on to talk about somebody predicting $90,000 for Bitcoin. Not everything I read out I agree with, of course. So we're going to have a look at why he thinks we're going to go to $90,000. We're going to have a look at the brass balls of Tom Lee. Tom Lee from BitMine. They bought another large tranche of Ethereum. We're going to have a look at that. We're going to look at Solana hitting 6 years of age. And I'm going to let you in on a little fact about Solana when we get to that. We're going to look at mispriced. Is XRP mispriced according to Grayscale? I certainly think XRP is undervalued right now. Even though we're in a bear market, I think it should be a little bit higher. We're going to talk about Aave and the fat fingers and what they're going to do to try and fix the fat finger loss, the $50 million loss. We're going to look at Operation Atlantic, and then we're going to finish with WLFI Access, a new team access over at World Liberty Financial. So we've got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about the charts as well. We did get a request coming in to talk about Robo, so we're going to have a quick look at that as well. We have our first... Well, we've had 3 responses already. Let me see if anybody on Binance has said. Yes, we've got a few people on Binance as well. Adriana has said $100 Sol will come first. And the YouTube crowd, Danny, Mags, and KB, in unison, have all said $100 Solana. Now, as you all know, I am trying to dollar cost average into Solana. So that should tell you what's going to happen to Solana, because I'm trying to get $50, $60 Solana. So, of course, if I say that into the universe, then the universe is going to go against me and force Solana to $100. Also, an interesting fact, which I don't know if anybody's going to go and look at. I don't know if you've been reading into... Good morning, Mohid. I hope you're well. Ariba, I hope you're well. Hamza, we've already dropped 2 boxes and we've been live for 10 minutes. Don't come in here asking for boxes, because what I do is I mute you. Look, I've just done that now. So you can't speak again. Goodbye. There is this emerging theory about quantum mechanics, quantum physics, which says that a state changes when you look at it. And when you apply that to humanity, you start to end up in a situation where you create your own version of the universe. Very interesting to look at. Nothing at all to do with this stream, which is why we are going to go and look at the prices of crypto, as you would expect. Right then, Bitcoin coming in below $74,000. It did wick up in the middle of the night while I was sleeping, sounded like a baby. I think we got to about 75,000, something like that. 74,000 is the first of the 3 lines in the sand that I drew yesterday. 74,000 is the first rejection point. Now, many people have got 75 and 76,000. That's perfectly fine. We all have different numbers and different ways of looking at things. But I think 74,000 is the first point. Then we've got 2 other points further up. I think we said yesterday about 80,000 and 84,000 are my next 2 targets. But 74, I think, is going to be one of the strongest ones to break. Then we've got Ethereum coming in at $2,300. It's nice to see some fresh air between Ethereum and $1,900. We've got XRP, the stablecoin, coming in at $1.51. We're not going to read all of these out, but we are going to say this. XRP to $1.50 to $2, sorry, or Solana to $100. Now, you're all going to say Solana because it's so much closer. I get that, but I think XRP is undervalued. And right now, I think XRP should probably be around $2, even in the correction to the downside. The same way that I think certain other coins should be a lot higher, but they're not. Now, the interesting thing I want to point out to you today is Hyperliquid has flipped Cardano. It's up 3.6%. Cardano is down. Hyperliquid is now in the top 10. Now, it's a little bit of a cheat. I don't really like calling it a top 10 because we've got Tether and we've got Circle. And as I said many times before, I think we need an option to remove stable coins from the crypto charts. They're not cryptocurrencies. They're stable coins. So that would put Hyperliquid at what? 8th. And it would put Cardano at 9th. And then Bitcoin Trash coming in 10th position. Chainlink, however, is heading towards $10, which is nice to see. But it's good to have a few green days, especially as we're celebrating St. Patrick's Day. Now, let me just very quickly move that down a little bit. Altcoin season, Gorge is slowly creeping up. Might see Link go to a tenner if the Gorge hits 78. I am all over a $10 Link. I'm also all over a $20 Link because I think it should be a lot higher than it is now. And as I keep saying, people need to be arrested. Memecoin is up. Ztrash is also up. ASI is still continuing its move up. Still 24 cents. I'm not getting excited about a 24 cent FET or ASA, whatever you want to call it. I'm not. It's nowhere near the value of what it should be. It's coming in at $500 million. It's way undervalued. Sky is up. Casper is up. A few other coins. Near Protocol and the AI momentum is building, but I don't know whether they're going to have the steam to keep them going for the rest of the bear market. I think it's nice that we're getting AI pump, but I can't see it carrying on. I know there's a lot of talk about AI bots coming on board. You want to be in the ramps that are dealing with the AI bots. Near are heavily involved in stuff with that, as are FET. I get all of that, but I just don't see them. I think they've gone too soon. Now then, losers, again, Morpho. The Trump coin was always going to retrace. You want to go and have a meal with Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago. You buy Trump and you become one of the top 70, top 140 holders, whatever it might be. Pudgy is down. Sui, though, is back over $1. That must make everybody in the Sui treasury breathe a sigh of relief that they're only down 75% now. Let's move on. Let's move on. The aim of this show is to try and get it done in an hour. Sometimes we overgo the hour. I get that. And sometimes we cut it close. But I'm going to try and do the hour today. We are not streaming tomorrow day. We are streaming tomorrow night. We have the Wolfies quiz tomorrow night. So I don't stream in the day. We're going to be going out and doing a few things. Microphones still haven't arrived, and the lighting will be here by tomorrow night. Right then, this is to do with the Clarity Act. A resolution is nearing a conclusion and could be reached as early as next week. The big catch, the compromise on the table is likely to be that static stablecoins will not be able to have yield, whereas active users will. What does that mean? It means you cannot put, I don't know, $10,000 of USDC into Binance, for example, Binance US, and then literally leave it there earning 3 or 4%. That's the compromise. Whereas active trading, I imagine, is for people that do trading on platforms or do other things, but not literally lock it away and leave it there. So that seems to be the compromise. Now, what I will say about this is all very, very airy-fairy. The definition of a static trader or a static user of stablecoins and an active user of stablecoins, for me, what makes an active or a static user? I don't know. But the point of the matter is the Clarity Act could be passed within the next 2 or 3 weeks. And I think that would be one more piece of paper out of the way, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Now then, Tether has revealed 1.6 billion in investments across sectors like media, fintech, sports, gold, and biotech over the past year. Major bets include Rumble, Elemental Royalty, which you've never heard of, Juventus, Gold, and Anchorage Digital. I don't think this is a bad idea. It's great being in crypto. It's great buying Bitcoin. It's great having a company that makes this amount of money. But you do have to diversify somewhat. Now, whether diversification looks like Juventus is a different matter. I like this approach. I'm not sure it's necessarily the scattergun approach that I think it looks to be becoming, if that makes sense. Certainly buying gold, absolutely 100%. Certainly buying into investment companies in crypto, no problem with that. Rumble, jury's out on that. Buying Juventus, how do you become a millionaire in football? You buy a football club when you're a billionaire. That's the golden rule. So I'm not a big fan of that, although it is exposure for Tether. So I'm kind of pretty happy to see companies do this. The same way I'm happy to see Binance logos in places and other crypto exchange logos in places. It's good for the industry. It gives us exposure, and we need that. I just don't want Tether to go down the route of ending up with shares in 500 different companies, because that's not good risk management. I don't know how you manage those that many investments. However, buying a bit of gold, buying a football club, and buying investment companies, that's kind of a decent strategy. Now then, facts over fiction, or as I called it yesterday, facts over feelings. Richard Teng came out to deny the rumours, that the malicious rumours that have transpired to have happened to do with the claims over the wrongdoing of Binance's compliance department. He stated the facts. The facts have gone before courts. The courts have found Binance to be innocent. That is the end of it. The issue that I have is when you see Wall Street Journal and people getting away with this time and time and time again. That's what I don't like. There needs to be recourse. There is one thing having free and open press, and there's another having a press that lies through its teeth to meet whatever ends its paymasters have. Now then, the Crypto Tax Roundtable was supposed to happen, I think, sorry, I've just got a message. The Crypto Tax Roundtable is basically trying to determine how America gets its tax out of crypto. The first time it happened, there was snowstorms, and then it was meant to happen yesterday. And as you can see from Eleanor Terrett, there were tornado warnings. God is telling us something, and I think that is where we're going to leave that, because we don't want to talk too much about God on this channel. But what are the chances of the first round of meetings being called off because of snowstorms, and then the second round of meetings being called off in tornadoes? Now, you might turn around to me and say, well, it's snow season in January and it's tornado season in March. And I would probably agree with you. Right then, let's move on very, very quickly. Remember, the question of the day is $100 Sol or $2 XRP, which one comes first? So far, every single person on Binance Square, every certain person on another channel have both said $100 Sol. And I think that's cheating. I think you're just going for the one that's closer to hitting the target, but there we go. I'm just getting abuse on Telegram from somebody who's watching the stream. Bitcoin to $90,000. Top analyst outlines bullish case following recent breakout. If you watched the stream yesterday, you know what our targets are. I'm going to lay them out before we begin this. 74,000 is the first point of resistance. Then about 80,000. And the final point of resistance is the bottom of the bull market support band, which is about $84,000 to $85,000. That's our case. Then we get rejected. Then we put in a lower low. I think it'd be great to hold 60,000, but I think we're going to go to 50,000. If you follow the bear flag, which I'm ignoring, which is this massive elephant that's standing in the corner of the room right now looking at me, we go to $41,000. I don't want to see $41,000. I'm not looking at that elephant that's in the corner of the room because I don't want that elephant to actually come true. Bitcoin has staged a textbook technical breakout from a grueling horizontal channel, clearing the $74,000 mark and putting a $90,000 price target firmly in play. The world's leading digital asset has finally pulled off a much-anticipated breakout. We knew this was going to happen. Will Mead, who I've never heard of, I'm sure he's a very intelligent guy, has basically called this the textbook play. The projected PT from this breakout is $90,000. I can't buy a $90,000 Bitcoin right now. For much of February and early March, Bitcoin was trapped in a well-defined horizontal channel that was building the bear flag, in my opinion. The same thing that happened if we go back to 2 months ago, before we broke down to where we are now, we put in the same kind of move. We are at the top of the range of the bear flag right now. If we start to come down, we could very well start that breakdown, but maybe it's a little bit too early. As I said yesterday, maybe we've got another 3 to 5 weeks of this move. The range-bound environment saw Bitcoin ping-pong between 63 and 72.8. Again, why is 63,000 important? If you watch my video from January, where I gave you my 3 price targets for Bitcoin, they were 63,000, 50,000 and 29,000. 63,000 is the 50% drawdown, $50,000 is the 60% drawdown, and we don't want to talk about the $29,000 Bitcoin because that's the monkey sitting on the back of the elephant in the corner of the room right now. With this range, we saw multiple high lows, and we've seen several attempts to break 74,000. As I will remind you right now, where are we? We are sitting... KB cannot see the elephant. KB, you have to close your eyes and manifest it. What I'm going to do about this quantum thing, because this quantum thing is coming from scientists, by the way. It's not coming from, people who wear tinfoil hats. Basically, the universe doesn't react until you look at it. The other way to see it is if you look at something and you want it to happen, it will change before your very eyes. Celebrating today, portfolio up 40% in the last 5 days, 92% down overall, though. I think that's the typical meme, though, isn't it? You have a 10 or 20% gain in the market and you're massively bullish. And as I keep saying to you, you just have to zoom out. And when you do, you see that you're down 40%. Now, 92% down, that is a bit extreme. If I look at my portfolio, I am now down about 45% maybe. I think again, that's going to happen. Right, very quickly, before we move on, it is St. Patrick's Day, and I am dropping boxes over on Binance Square because it's St. Patrick's Day. And I did think today that I was going to give you some little facts about St. Patrick. St. Patrick was actually English, and he was kidnapped by the Irish and taken to Ireland as a slave. Then he had a dream that took him, that he was going to be set free, which happened. He then went back to England, became this priest, and then went back to Ireland to preach. That's fact number 1 for you. You don't get these facts anywhere else. Let's have a quick look at some of these questions. I will buy 50% if I am not sure. Let me follow you. Good morning, Jasmine. I hope you are well. The Motley Bowl sold to 100. Yeah, I think everybody's going to go for that. Adriana, welcome to the stream. Right, let's get on with it. Let's get back into what we are talking about. We do have some bullish momentum. $90,000 takes us above the bull market support band. That is my first issue. And basically, the way I see this is, as long as we're below the bull market support band, we are in the bear market. And we go above the bull market support band and we hold it as support, then we go higher. And that invalidates every video I've made since January. Okay, so my neck is on the line. And that is this. We get rejected at one of those prices I've given you and we come down. That's my play. And that play in a midterm year is the same as the play in 2022 and 2018. So it's a cyclical play. I'm not picking numbers out of my backside on this. So predicting a $90,000 Bitcoin is tough for me to consider. Now, what he says here, given that $10,000 of depth of the 63 to 73,000 range, a move to 83,000 is the first stop, with a psychological momentum likely carrying it towards $90,000 to $94,000. Now, I can buy the $83,000 Bitcoin. I am all on board with that. But I don't think we're going to go to 90,000 anytime soon. And as I said yesterday, if we break the $83,000, $84,000 line and we go up and we form some level of support above the bull market support band, then listen, we're all going to be rich. Okay? That's the way this works. But I'm not here to tell you that you're going to be rich. The motto of this channel, by the way, is this: we are not here to make you rich. Our job is to try and stop you from becoming poor. That's been our motto now for almost 3 years. Actually, no, almost 4 years. June 2022 is when we started. So almost 4 years, 3.5 years. Incredible. Now then, BitMine announces largest Ethereum purchase of 2026 as holdings near 4% of total supply. When you see BitMine, think strategy, but for Ethereum. Tom Lee is utterly insane, okay? He is running at the biggest deficit of any investment in the history of mankind. Obviously, the price of Ethereum has now gone up, so he's probably not holding that title. But they now hold 4% of the total supply of Ethereum. You think about what Saylor owns. Saylor is probably not far off holding 4% of Bitcoin. So they are pretty much like for like. But Tom Lee has got, in fact, isn't the title of this Brass Balls? Yeah, Brass Balls. And he's got brass balls. This guy's got brass balls. They've bought 61,000 Ethereum. They hold 4%, almost 4% of the total supply. They've got 4.6 million ETH. The difference, I suppose, between Tom Lee and Michael Saylor is this. Tom Lee stakes his Ethereum and is generating, for argument's sake, 2% on those holdings. Saylor's has a different strategy where he has found the infinite money loop, where people buy his strategy or Strack, whatever it's called, share. He then converts all of that revenue into Bitcoin, and then he's created this loop. I'm not going to call it a Ponzi scheme, but I don't like it. So I'm a big fan of this strategy. I'm not a big fan of what Tom Lee goes on camera and says. I know it's his job, but I put a tweet out before, which I'm going to show you just to give you some context. I'm a big fan of this type of treasury for Bitcoin and Ethereum, and then nobody else. But I put this out today because I want you to be aware of false idols. False idols being very, very wealthy people telling you that certain prices are going to happen. And the real Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Poor Dad guy, the guy that wears the blue glasses, he has had some predictions. And some of those predictions, most of those predictions, all of those predictions have been wrong. And the reason they're wrong is on your screen. He predicted a $350,000 Bitcoin in 2024. He predicted a $650,000 Bitcoin in 2025. And he predicted a $1 million Bitcoin in 2026, which is the year we're in now. Now, the issue is, listen, I know Danny, I know Mags, I know KB, I know Hidden. I know they know that these numbers are never going to happen, okay? Not in that year. I know that. But the majority of people who are new to crypto, and there's a lot of people on Binance who have just come to crypto, they're going to see this number and they're going to say, oh my, he said it's going to go to $1 million. I'm going to go and buy, I'm going to put my entire student loan, or I'm going to remortgage my house and I'm going to go and buy $100,000 worth of Bitcoin. And then Bitcoin goes up probably 30% between now and the end of the year. So that person's now sitting on $130,000. with $100,000 worth of debt or a loan or wherever it might be. Great, they've made $30,000. They were expecting to make over $1.5 million. The issue is that your expectations are driven by fools like this, okay? And they are the people that, for me, are doing more damage than meme coins. If somebody tells you this is a surefire bet, are they people in the pub? The person in the pub is probably going to give you the same kind of financial advice that Rich Dad Poor Dad is going to give you. He's been wrong now ever since Bitcoin existed, and ever since somebody interviewed him about Bitcoin, he has been wrong. You put that into a sports commentator. Imagine getting a sports commentator to say, oh, Man United are going to win 5-0. And he says that 38 times a season. And for the last 3 years, I don't think Man United have won 5-0. So he's been wrong 114 times or 124 times. Why is he a pundit when he's wrong every single time? Why do people still listen to these people? Solana celebrates 6 years as Sol chart signals potential upside towards $500. Sol marks 6 years since the launch. It's climbing towards $100. Analysts are predicting $125 to $250 as key breakout levels. Now, the one thing I did say at the start of the stream was the little unknown fact about Solana, as well as it being 6 years old. Brace yourself. Solana hasn't gone down for 2 years. About a week ago, maybe 5 days ago, somebody who obviously tracks this kind of information pointed out that Solana has had 750 days or 740 days of uptime. So the last time Solana went down was over 2 years ago, right? So those of you in chat, those of you talking about coins not going up or whatever it might be, or chains going down, scam chains, whatever it might be, Solana's been up for 2 years. 2 whole years it's been up for. That's a record. Now, the second thing is Solana is 6 years old. 6 years old. In the grand context of everything, 6 years is not even the blink of an eye. Ethereum is not much older. Bitcoin is not much older. These are all brand new companies, brand new projects in industries which are brand new. We're less than 20 years old. As an industry, how old is Binance? Binance is only, 6, 7 years old? 8 years old? It's not that old either. Everything is brand new. You're not seeing people in Binance getting their gold carriage clocks and a pat on the back and for 25 years hard work and hard service, loyal service. Everything is still new. And when you're in a new industry, you have to accept certain things from time to time will not work. And I have said from time to time, Solana will occasionally go down. 2 years, pretty good. So they are about also to release a new SIP, which is going to increase the speed of Solana. Not that it needs to go any faster, but they are going to increase the speed of Solana. It's done a lot in those times. Almost 500 billion transactions. I'm sure I'm about a billion of them. 2.58 trillion of DEX volume and $16 billion stablecoin supply. We really don't need to talk too much about this. I do think Solana's going to break $100. Probably going to break it in the next few days. I will say to you, however, to keep an eye, a very close eye on any possible rejection point to the downside. It's getting to the point now where I would seriously consider shorting Bitcoin. And I don't short Bitcoin because I'm fairly bullish on Bitcoin. Anyway, now then, before we go any further, just a few things. Abo Empire, because he is projecting. I don't think Rich Dad Poor Dad is projecting. I think he's saying numbers to keep himself relevant. I think he's saying Bitcoin to $350,000 or $500,000 is to make sure he gets the headline, because by getting the headline, he sells books. And you can look at Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor keeps telling us we're going to see a $13 million Bitcoin because he's going to give an aspirational target. Tom Lee was talking about a $60,000 Ethereum last year. They say these things because they are trying to get themselves exposure They're trying to get themselves into the news. That's what they are all about. All of them are all about. 2017, 8 or 9 years now for Binance. This live has no co-host. Okay. Blockchain. Fair enough. Yeah, we don't have a co-host on here. When I do the stream with the Oracle, and the Oracle does the charts, I co-host the stream. I come into chat, and I will do all of that side of things. When it's me on my own streaming in the morning, I come on here, and I have to basically flick back and forth between dropping boxes and actually doing everything else that we do. So I'm going to drop another red box because, as I said, it is St. Patrick's Day. We do drop more boxes when we're celebrating something. Now, for those of you that don't drink because of your religion, you know you can buy alcohol-free Guinness these days. You can buy alcohol-free Guinness. So there's no reason you can't go out and celebrate St. Patrick's Day with me tonight. Right, let's get back on with it. There we go. So I don't think I covered Solana in the last stream. Basically, I think Solana is going to get somewhere towards $125 to $150 myself if Bitcoin starts to break higher. But where I draw the line is where people start talking about $250 and $500. The issue is that, as I keep saying, the cycle that we're in is not going to be bullish until we've had the midterm, which is November this year. That is when the midterms finish. Until that point, I am not going to be bullish. We're going to have pumps. When we come down from this relief rally, we're going to find a bottom, and then we're going to have another relief rally. And then we might be in July or August with low volume. Then we will do nothing between August and September until we get to October. Now, BB, by the way, BB, Bitcoin buyer in chat, said that he thinks Bitcoin will be over $100,000 by the end of the year, or at $100,000 by the end of the year on yesterday's stream. I think we will end the year higher than when we started it. That's my hope. So that gives us a $94,000, $92,000, $90,000 Bitcoin, not a million miles away from what he suggested. I just think we're going to have a big crater between now and the end of the year. The same way we had the big crater 4 years ago and 8 years ago. I think it's just a cycle. Now, I can buy the $125, $150 Solana. I can buy that. I can't buy a $500 or a $250 Solana. A $250 Solana from here is going from $95. So it's almost not quite 3xing, 2.5xing. I just don't see it. And I would love to be proven wrong. Hazrat is short on Solana. It's not a bad move. The volatility will continue until May. I think it will continue after May. Now, May is when Kevin Warsh comes in, the new head of the Fed. But he alone is not going to save crypto. And I don't want to keep saying the same things. We've got oil prices, inflation pressure. We've got the job openings falling. Unemployment is going up. You can't cut rates when we're heading into inflation, because the reason we've got high rates was to get rid of the inflation 2 years ago. After COVID, we had a bunch of inflation because we printed so much money. We had to put the rates up to strangle the supply of the velocity of money in the system. Then we came down and down and down, and then Trump decides to go and cause chaos around the world. Oil prices are now up over $100, or they're probably at $95 about now. Gas prices have gone up. It just puts pressure on inflation because every truck that you drive bringing your goods from A to B uses gas in America, petrol in Europe. So if those prices go up, they will affect the price of absolutely everything that has to be delivered. Your Amazon parcels, even your postmen, your grocers, everything's affected by the price of gas. That has to come down. Now then, we're going to move on. So I've given you the scenario for Solana, 125 to 150. XRP is mispriced according to Grayscale analyst, who signals value as Ripple targets PayFi. Now, again, Brad Garlinghouse has put his neck on the line and said, in 5 years' time, you're all going to be super, super happy with me. That's what he said. Now, I don't like 5-year targets. I think they're a little bit like the targets that you get for climate change, because I'm around long enough to remember that by 2020, we were going to be 12 foot underwater or 8 foot underwater. We could have no pandas left. All the fish would have gone. The polar bears would have sunk. I heard all of that. I've been hearing all of that for the last 25 to 35 years. And not a single one of those things, I was told, the sensationalist stories, have ever come true. That's, unfortunately, for those people who think there is a climate emergency, a fact, because they just recycle the same things. Now, in crypto, if you say we are going to hit $1 million for Bitcoin by 2035, that target is so far away, but that by the time we get there, you can't pull the guy up and say, you said we would be at $1 million by 2035, we're at 600,000. The guy will say, well, that was 10 years ago, 8 years ago, what do you expect? So I'm not a fan of Brad saying we are going to be a success in 5 years' time. I want to hear Brad lay out a roadmap to explain how we're going to be doing so well in 5 years' time. Either way, XRP is at 150. It's 60% below its 2025 highs. What was the high for XRP? I thought we went to $3. On one side, we have massive expansion of utility through Ripple's new PayFi strategy. On the other, we have a stagnant price chart that has frustrated holders for months. Remember yesterday we covered the guy that was saying that everything was rigged and manipulated, and I was trying to point out the fact Bowling for Columbine is a human response to an event that happened. We try and find a singular reason why something happens. A singular reason why Bitcoin goes up or comes down. A singular reason why XRP is where it is. And that guy was trying to say that he found 9 occasions where the price of XRP was going up and then the markets opened and the prices came down. That's exactly how markets work. XRP is at 150. The chart shows a clear fight waiting at the $1.90 to $2 level. This zone has acted as a brutal ceiling multiple times. I'm going to sit here right now and say Solana is going to break $100 first, but I will laugh if XRP does it. It is a 30% move from where we are, whereas XRP's got to do a 5% move, 6% move. So XRP's got a lot to get to. Maybe you should have made it a bit harder and said 175. But either way, I think $2, we're not going to break it this time. I don't think we're going to break $2. I think we'll get somewhere near $2. But XRP must close a weekly candle above 195 on volume. If it clears that hurdle, the air is thin to $2.80. I'm not buying these prices. This would confirm that the market is finally pricing in the XRP utility and acquisition news. If XRP fails to hold the 135 support, we will, well, he believes we'll go down towards $1. Now, I don't think that we are going to see either $2.80, and I don't think we're going to see much below $1 from where we are now. I think if we go below $1, it's likely to be for a week or 5 days around that time. And that's if Bitcoin capitulates. If Bitcoin goes to $40,000, then we certainly see a sub $1 XRP. But I think if we go to 50, 55, which I think the Oracle thinks we're going to go to as well, then I can't see us going much below $1. And I think we can hold on. But saying that, I think that the news that's coming out about the stable coins, the news that's coming out about the taxation on crypto, all of that kind of news is going to benefit some cryptocurrencies more than others. And I think it's going to benefit XRP more than, say, Cardano. So when we get the Clarity Act and the Genius Act and all of these different things passed, then I think XRP will start to slowly outperform some other assets for a while, because that will drive the bullish narrative. If you've got a project that's based on transactions, those transactions are going to be in stable coins. So sending transactions through any transactions going through XRP Ledger in stable coins, it's still volume for XRP. So I think it will benefit them. Certainly it will benefit the likes of Solana and Ethereum. But I think some of the other chains that aren't involved in stablecoins, some of the other projects that aren't involved in stablecoins, I think they're going to lose out. I think Chainlink will be a big winner as well, by the way. So Aave has just launched a slippage protection system after a $54 million fat finger trade lost $49.5 million. All I will say about this is, I talk about this a lot, naivety. I'm an old, cynical man. Okay, I'm an old, cynical man. I would sit in a company like Aave and say, is it possible for me to lose $10 million on a trade through your platform? I'd say that the same thing if you look at Uniswap. Can I lose my net worth doing a transaction? And then they'll say, oh, sandwich attacks, or they can fat finger the MEV bots, or whatever it might be. I'd say, right, this needs to have something put in place to stop it from happening. That is all I would say. This happens in different places. It's happened different times. People have done the same thing with Bitcoin. People have done the same thing with NFTs in the past. People have sold, when they were worth anything, Bored Apes. There was a Bored Ape, what was it worth? 100 ETH. It got 112 ETH and it got sold for 1.12 ETH or something like that. It happens. It shouldn't happen. Let's look at this. Everyone can laugh. Everyone can moan. It shouldn't happen. You have got a $1 trillion business and you are allowing a customer to lose 90% of their net worth because they pressed the wrong button. I don't care about the warnings, okay, that were popping up. It should not allow that trade. I should not be allowed to go and buy one Solana for $15,000. Or I should not be allowed to go and buy one Ethereum for $26,000. I shouldn't be allowed to do it, okay? In any DeFi platform, anywhere, whether it be Aave, whether it be Uniswap, PancakeSwap, it should not be allowed. End of story. There should be some kind of 10% limiter put in place. So yes, if you want to go and overpay for Ethereum by 10%, whatever reason, whatever floats your boat, fine, but not this. So according to the report, a whale swapped $54 million in USDT for Aave and received $4.5 million in return. The transaction drained available liquidity in the pool so aggressively that slippage consumed the $49.5 million of the $54 million input, with Medbops extracting the majority of that value within seconds of the transactions hitting the mempool. The error is what the industry calls a fat finger trade, a transaction executed without adequate slippage controls. Again, he had warnings. I'm fully aware of that. And maybe there's more to this story than meets the eye. Again, if you lose 54 million on a trade like this, you've got way more than 54 million. This wasn't somebody's life savings here. Let's be honest. And could it be a really indirect marketing ploy to damage the opposition? Maybe these things are just made to make bad press about Aave. That is a possibility. But the system operates at two levels. The smart contract enforces a 25% hard cap on price impact, automatically blocking any transaction where slippage would exceed the threshold before execution. And again, we talk about it more down here. We don't really. Here we go. Right. So Aave Shield is one solution to one specific failure mode. The broader safe DeFi movement suggests the industry recognizes that institutional adoption requires institutional-grade error prevention at the protocol level, not just at the user interface level. This has to be in place on every DeFi platform for everything, okay? We spoke years ago about wormhole exploits, and they've disappeared. Now we've got CCIP, amongst others, that we don't really talk about wormhole exploits anymore. That's where you're changing, for example, $1,000 of BNB on the Binance Smart Chain for, I don't know, $1,000 of Solana on the Solana chain. Wormholes were basically taking advantage of exploits in the smart contracts, and basically you'd put your $1,000 of BNB in and you wouldn't get anything out the other end. That all got fixed as if by magic. Paul Daniels appeared and fixed all that. That kind of stuff just needs fixing. I don't care what anybody tells me about how pools work, how mevbots work, how slippage works. I don't care what you're telling me. Just fix it. Make it impossible for anything like that to happen. That is how you bring trust and institutions to your service. Simple, right? Fix it. It's not hard. And if it is hard, find somebody who can do it and stop allowing these things to happen. Operation Atlantic, US Secret Service teams up with UK, Canada to stop crypto fraud. Operation Atlantic, I like that. The Secret Service is working together with the UK and Canadian law enforcement agencies in a bid to stop crypto fraud schemes. I'm a big fan of stuff like this. I'm always going to be a big fan of stuff like this. If you want to go and use privacy tokens and hide your money and not pay tax, then you are breaking the law and you should be punished. You have to play fair. You have to play by the system. You have to declare what you've made. And you have to provide the correct information, and that happens to be KYC. If you are using DeFi where you don't need KYC, you need to make sure you report correctly. You will get caught, and that will be the end of you. Now, there are people out there who are going to try and take advantage of you. Of course there are. There are people out there who are going to try and drain your wallets, which is why we never advised you to use a hot wallet. You should always be using, and again, unpopular opinion, if you don't know what you're doing, you use Binance or somebody else, a centralized exchange, and you turn all of your security on. If you know what you're doing, you use a Ledger or a Trezor and you lock your funds away. They're your two options. There is no option C, which is hot wallet. That's if you want to go and mess around in DeFi. And as I've said, for at least the last 12 months, so Binance will give you access to the likes of Aave and Morpho and Maple Finance and Ondo as they're doing. Why? Because they are an umbrella of protection. And not just Binance, but every centralized exchange worth its salt will be an umbrella of protection. And I don't want you sitting there parroting, not your keys, not your crypto. Okay, maybe in 2021, we're in 2026. I looked at the top 15 exchanges, assets under management of the top 15 exchanges today, and I think there are about 20 to 25 centralized exchanges with assets of over $1 billion. We didn't have that 5 or 6 years ago. So we've improved as an industry. Binance has, I think, 126 billion. A few others have got 10s, 15 billion. A few have got 5 and 10 billion. It's not the same industry it was 5 years ago. You have to take on the new information about this. Binance and everybody else have brought in way more measures to stop you from getting hacked on a centralized exchange than maybe existed 5 or 6 years ago. Don't let anybody tell you you've got to use MetaMask to put your entire crypto net worth in, because they are lying to you. Now, we don't need to talk too much about this. It's not that important. It's just a point to look at the fact that they're working on this. The big thing for me is, yes, you've got phishing. Don't connect your wallet with your net worth to somewhere you don't recognize. You click a bad link, they'll install some software. They're going to take your stuff, whatever it might be. But this is to basically try and clamp down on it, because these operations, these crime teams, they operate in Europe, America, Asia, Africa. They're all over the place. So you need America to team up with the UK, to team up with Europe and Asian enforcement officers to basically stop it from happening. So I think it's a good thing. I don't think they're going to get rid of it, by the way. It's not actually. I don't think it's possible to completely remove crime, but they can certainly stunt it a little bit. Right then, the last article, and we got 10 minutes to go, by the way, which is good because I want to talk about Robo for a second, or Robo for a second, because that's what I was asked. That's a very good point. On Binance Square, we have our own chat room now, and I'm not sure how I'm going to promote it to get people in there, but I am going to be sending out links in Telegram and other places. Probably put it onto YouTube as well, so you can come in there. I don't want thousands of people in there. If I get 50 to 100 people in there, I'll be happy, and I'll probably stop advertising it. But we're going to be running competitions in there. We're going to be running giveaways in there. We're going to be doing the announcements in there. We're probably going to be doing the pre-questions for the streams that we do. So if we want questions asking about a certain project, we're going to ask them in that chat room. Then we're going to pick one of those people to win the giveaways. So we're going to use Binance chat for that. It only launched this week, and then we'll see how it works. Anyway, Trump-backed World Liberty puts $5.3 million $5.3 million price tag on guaranteed access to the team. This lets big-time WLFI investors access members of the team. You hold $5 million worth of WLFI, and you will get guaranteed access to members of the finance team. Moving forward, investors will need to lock up their tokens for 6 months to participate. Last week, the team behind the president's meme coin teased an exclusive dinner at Mar-a-Lago. World Liberty Financial approved this measure on Friday. That basically, we covered this at the time. You lock your tokens away. I think the emissions are about 2 or 3% per year. If you lock away $5 million, you'll have team access. That's the long and short of it. There's a 3-tiered framework, and it basically it's called supernodes with guaranteed access for partnership discussions. And in order to attain this, you've got to lock up 50 million tokens for a minimum of 180 days. I think this is absolutely fine. I've got no problem with this. I have no problem with Trump having... I don't have any problem with World Liberty Financial doing this at all. Now then, we have got to the end of the stream, and we've got 7 minutes left. Just give me 1 second. There's a few people joining the chat room, which is absolutely nice. Yeah, okay, right. So, let me very quickly refresh this, and I will go through the messages very quickly before we get into anything else. So wait for this to refresh. Here we go. Anyway, Robo it was, yes. I'm going to read through some of these questions. Someone lost millions in slippage last week. It should not happen. Money should not be lost. I totally agree with that comment. Hello, Mazzies. There's a lot of people in chat. There's probably too many people for me to read out in chat, so I'm not going to. Now, Robo is a token that I was asked about, so let me bring up the chart. And again, if you're in the Binance Square chat room, if you're in the Telegram group, anything like that, and I'm not going to advertise those groups on here, but if you are in those groups, you can ask me for tokens, and I will go and look at them, basically. Now, I hope this is the right one. Fabric Protocol. Is this the right one? Let me just double check. Give me 1 second. And I will bring this up. Right, so this is Fabric Protocol. That is what I've been asked to look at. So that is what I am going to bring up very quickly at the end of the stream. Right, it's down. Oh, no, it's up 37% over the last year. That's not too bad. If we go over the last week, it has done nothing but come down. If we go for the last 24 hours, it has absolutely plunged. What I would say, and I'm not going to be specific about Robo here, is at this stage of the market, which is in a downturn, especially if we consider that we're in a bear market since October, any project outside of the top 20 or 30 is not a token that I would consider buying right now. If you are going to be buying Robo because you absolutely believe in this token, what I would suggest you do is you dollar cost average in. So if you really want to buy this token, you really love this project, you think it's the next best thing, you're going to have 6 to 12 months to buy this token before the price starts to appreciate. But you can't buy something. So if we have a look over the last year, is this the last year? Okay, right. So it's been around since, it's not been around very long. I wouldn't go near a token under 200 or 300 million at this stage of the market. What I would do with this is I would wait for some kind of announcement that's going to pump it to the upside, and then I would sell off the top. So if Robo or Fabric Protocol sign a partnership with Apple or Microsoft or even Amazon, then I would look to sell this token. Could this token go to $500 or $600 million? Yep, of course it can. But is it going to happen in a bear market? Probably not. Not unless it's doing something absolutely different than everything else is doing. But I wouldn't be buying this token right now. And what I would say is take profits along the way. It's a small enough market cap that one bit of news is going to pump it to the upside. So a new partnership, a new user group forming, or they hit a milestone of 100,000 users or 1 million users and it pumps to the upside, then certainly buy into it. But I am not going to buy into this token. The other thing is there's $10 billion tokens. There's only 2.2 billion in circulation. That's quite low. So that's 20. It's less than a quarter of the tokens are in circulation. There's only 38,000 holders, which isn't a massive number either. I would take profits out of this. I would sell all of it if I could. Now, if you look at the various different... I'm not going to go off to the prices on this, by the way. There's a 4 cent and a 5 cent and a 6 cent. 4, 5, and 6. It's easy to remember. I would be selling this off at 5 cents, 6 cents. I would get out of this token. But that's just my opinion. I'm not here to give financial advice. I'm just going to give you my overall opinion on it. Low circulating supply compared to total circulating supply. Low number of users holding it. It's only been around for what appears to be about 4 weeks. There could be a VC sell-off in the future. If there is a massive pump and this goes to 10, 15 cents, take your money and run with your profits. That's what I would say on this, in all honesty. Right then, we have got to the end of the stream. A few announcements, a little bit of housekeeping, as they say. Sign token. What is Sign token? I'll tell you what we'll do with Sign token. I'm going to put it on the list. We're going to look at that. We'll look at that on the next stream because otherwise I'm going to run over. We're going to run over. Buying tokens that are at the top. I mean, again, I would look at only buying the tokens in the top 30, top 20 tokens right now. And you need to look at, in my humble opinion, you need to look at projects that are going to be here in 5 years' time. Do you know if Robo, which has been around for 3 weeks, is going to exist in 5 years' time? You probably don't know it's going to exist in 5 years' time. Is Chainlink going to exist in 5 years' time? Is Ethereum? Is Solana? Is Bitcoin going to be here in 5 years' time? Then that is what I would look into. So the question, by the way, unanimously has been $100 Sol. That's what people think. I'm kind of in agreement simply because we are so much higher and closer to $100. But yeah, Abu Empire, true, we should be careful. You need to be careful. The time to take risks is just after we've bottomed. So if you look at 2022 and 2023, in January 2023, we bought XRP and Cardano, and we were buying Solana, and we were buying them at prices where people were not interested. Now, if we have a lesser brutal bear market than we had in 2022, which is probably likely, then we're going to go into 2027 the same way as 2023, which is coming out of that bear market. but we're going to have less PTSD. So we've not had an FTX collapse. We've not had a Luna collapse. We've not had a Celsius collapse so far. We have had Iran. We have had a few other things, yes, but not crypto specific. So if we can just get out of this year less scathed than we were last cycle, then the beginning of next year is where you can look at projects. Because what's going to happen in the next 6 months is every time something goes up, people are going to take profits because they know we're in a bear market. If everybody knows we're going to go to $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 again, people are going to sell. And why wouldn't you? You expect the market to go down. So if we get to the beginning of next year where everybody expects us to start the 2-year climb, then that's when you should be buying the robos and other tokens of this world, which are 50 or 100, $150 million, because some of them are likely to fly, in my humble opinion. A good morning, Mitta. Now, we've got to the end of the stream. So tomorrow night, we have got our Wolfies quiz night. We do an NFT stream once a month where we try and educate people about NFTs. Simple. We talk about NFTs. We talk about various different things. We have a quiz about NFTs, and it's interactive, and it's on Binance, and it's also somewhere else, where you can basically come along, answer questions, and your name appears on the screen. This is tomorrow night. I'm going to set it up in the calendar in a bit. So come along, play the quiz. We will probably do a Wheel of Fortune where we spin all the names of people that are in the quiz, and we will give away prizes. And we won't give away prizes the second the stream finishes. We will give the prizes away within the next few days, simply because it takes me time to set everything up. But anyway, thank you everybody for watching. You're all legends. Happy St. Patrick's Day. Happy St. Patrick's Day to you all. If you are of a religion that cannot drink alcohol, there is alcohol-free Guinness that you can drink. And if you are able to drink alcohol because you're Irish, then you can go and drink Guinness and enjoy your day. So thank you everybody for coming. Have a great Patrick's Day, and I'll see you all tomorrow night. Goodbye.